think you're live, man, right?
Yeah,
You
I
hit the
think we're
record
live.
button?
Sorry, I
Okay.
didn't see the little red button pop up, but I'm old and it's late. So, welcome back, everybody, to the Booze, Dessert, Smoke and Meats podcast, also referred to as BDSM. I'm your host, the Meat Viking, alongside me with my wonderful co host.
Yeah, this is Professor Porkloin.
That's right. And today we've got a special episode for you today. Only be a couple of days late by the time this releases instead of our typical 1 to 2 weeks late. We're going to be talking about Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, Cinco de Mayo, man. This is always a great holiday that Americans tend to celebrate and go buck wild with, and they do it for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah. We would never
So,
do anything like that. I don't know what you're talking about. But with such a festive holiday, we need a safe word for today.
I think you got yourself one.
I think so too.
I think
We
you
were
need to
talking a little bit before we logged in here that we should make the safe word maracas.
Yeah, I think maracas is very fitting for Cinco de Mayo. So that's a good safe word.
Mm-hmm. Now, as we begin this podcast, I'm sure a lot of you guys are thinking, why are you talking about Mexican Independence Day on a, you know, podcast that you focus on booze, desserts, smoke, and meats? Well, there's a lot of booze that goes on Cinco de Mayo, and a lot of desserts, smoking, and meeting going on Cinco de Mayo. However, we don't celebrate Cinco de Mayo for the reasons that most people would think. A lot of us think that it's the Mexican Independence Day, and our wonderful co-host over here is going to have us some doctoral knowledge on that.
Yeah, so Cinco de Mayo, I guarantee you, if you ask any person who's not Mexican descent, who's a white person or black person that's in the United States, and you ask them what is Cinco de Mayo in reference to, and I guarantee you they'll say it's because it's Mexico's Independence Day, which is not true because it actually is celebrating Mexico's victory against the French at the Battle of Puebla. And surprisingly enough, Mexico's Independence Day is like 50 years before this battle actually ever occurred. So it's really funny that it's really actually about a battle. And in some terms, it does help us recognize that the U.S. is a part of it a little bit. Because if Mexico didn't stop the French during this battle, then it would have been pretty bad for us with our Civil War. There's a lot of history that says that if that occurred, the the France would have definitely had fed the South, and the South probably would have had a better chance of winning at that point. So, um, as an American, I feel like we need to celebrate this, but celebrate it for the correct reason and not thinking it's because of someone's independence.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there, because we have so many Mexican American people, Spanish people that live in the U.S., they do happen to bring plenty of awesome foods, and I feel like that's where we're going to talk a little bit about today, and kind of a comparison of what are some of the things that traditionally Mexican people eat on this day versus what us Americans tend to bastardize and eat on that day.
Mm-hmm.
So, it really is traditional, at least in Mexico. Refried beans, cheese, jalapenos aren't really the traditional stuff that people eat on this day. And neither are like the hard shell tacos topped with, lettuce and cheddar cheese. What's really funny is that Taco Bell actually tried opening up a place in Mexico. And what's hilarious about that is that every time they have done that, it's failed. Because no one's going to eat there because it's not traditional Mexican food. It's
Mm-hmm.
American bastardized food of what they believe Mexican really is. So it's kind of funny that going to Mexico, seeing a Taco Bell, it doesn't work because, I mean, come on. You have real live tacos,
Mm-hmm.
real good burritos, like everything that's part of that culture.
Yeah.
So, of course, no one's going to wind up doing that.
Yeah.
um, So yeah, do you have any favorite thing that you as an American have when Cinco de Mayo runs around?
Not anymore. Not after that night many, many years ago that you and I went around and had far too many Jello shots, and I tried to steal that sombrero.
That was pretty funny.
That was very funny.
I do remember that. You tried walking out, and they definitely got you on that one. But it's a big ass sombrero, man. How did you not know?
Dude, they let me wear the thing for like 5 hours, and I
I know.
spent way more money at that bar than I should have. I pretty much paid for that sombrero at that point.
Yeah, we were definitely there for quite some time. All I remember is that it was light when we got in there, that it was dark when we left. So,
Yeah, yeah, that was a good
but
good time.
before any of that, though, what were some of the things that you would traditionally eat on Cinco de Mayo?
Usually, like the bastardized American stuff, it would be like, oh, we're gonna go get tacos, maybe do some like enchiladas at home or something. You know, just
I think tacos are probably the biggest one that people get.
yeah,
Um, I'm a burrito person myself. I love burritos. I think you get more out of it.
that's fair.
Uh, so yeah, I mean, even I remember myself eating tacos, burritos, like enchiladas, stuff like that. That would be the big thing. Fajitas, like I think anything normally on a Mexican menu is what people are going to be eating on Cinco de Mayo.
Mm-hmm.
But I also feel like combine that with tequila shots and margaritas and Corona or Modelo or anything that's Spanish related alcohol wise is pretty much your biggest seller on that day.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but really, if you look at what's traditionally done, um, mole mole poblano is one of the more popular dishes in Puebla for Cinco de Mayo. So if you're asking what really is mole, um, you know, one history person basically thinks that the Spanish heard the native people of Mexico speaking of mole, which meant meat sauce. So some people believe that mole came from that word. But then another historian believes that, it comes from molar, which is Spanish to actually grind everything up. So whatever one that you decide to believe, mole is a sauce made from ground up ingredients. And it comes in a bunch of different colors. I've had green mole, I've had brown mole or darker mole. Um, the thick dark mole poblano may be the most popular that you'll see. So it really can be a little bit intimidating to make. It's got a bunch of ingredients in it, and you have to roast a couple of the stuff and really toast some of them. And even after doing that, it's totally worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So mole poblano would definitely be a thing that traditionally Mexicans are going to eat in Puebla for Cinco de Mayo. So, and mole can be spicy too. So you can have light mole, or you can have something that's going to have a nice little bite to it. It's going to have a nice little tang.
Mm.
So I'm not a fan of having mole that's going to be super spicy that my butthole burns later on and then it tears up my stomach. I mean, I could do decently spicy stuff, but I honestly have no idea how people can do that. Butt blaster sauce. One little drop, and your mouth and intestines are on fire for 2 hours.
Yeah, yeah. When I was young and dumb, I would try stuff like that. Now, like I like my heat. If you had like a choice, let's say you go to a famous chain restaurant and they've got a picture of the sauce bottle on there. At the very top is their hottest sauce, and like it goes all the way down to the very bottom of the bottle. I like to stay in like the 3/4 range of that.
Man, I might even be half to 3/4 at that point.
Yeah.
Like, I am not all about having that stuff just burn my face off. And
Yeah.
then what sucks even more too is if you don't wash your hands
Yep.
good enough,
Yep.
then you wind up touching your eyes and you burn your eyes, or you might get friendly with your lucky lady friend, and well, now you got some other problems later on too.
Uh huh.
Everybody's had that story that they've heard of someone ate hot wings and then
Yep.
decided to play around, and then felt like everything was on fire.
Yep. Yeah. Wash your hands, kids. Wash your damn
Yeah,
hands.
wash your hands a lot
Yeah.
if you
Especially if
if
you
you
eat
do
spicy
anything.
food.
Yeah, any spiced food with peppers or any hot sauce, just make sure you douse them in the sink and let them soak for a little bit to get all that hot sauce off.
Mm-hmm.
Or wear gloves. I guess you could protect yourself if you really want to be weird like that in a restaurant.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. That's like two levels above sociopath. You know?
Well, I'm trying to think of what the last place that I went to that had that hot sauce bottle on it, and I think the hottest one was like a habanero or some type of Reaper
Yeah.
sauce.
Yeah.
And in the Scoville unit, it's like 2 million something Scovilles, and I'm like, nah,
Nah, dude.
that's not gonna happen.
No. And like, here's the thing, people. If you want to see what happens when somebody eats like a $2 million, not $2 million, but a 2 million Scoville unit of something, YouTube. You found us there. You can find the reaction of somebody eating some super hot stuff. You can watch them cry, and then it won't be you.
Yeah, go down the rabbit hole of other people just eating it and then dying.
Right.
I honestly think the best ones though are when they forget that they have it on their hands and they literally go to wipe the tears away or the shit off their face, and then they just make it way worse.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, that'll
So
happen.
I think my favorite one that I saw was this one dude, and this isn't even really that hot, but I guess it was a prank on his wife. He wound up mixing some guacamole. So I mean, guacamole is also a stellar, Mexican dish, avocado, everything in there. But what he did is he took a whole big tube of wasabi
Oh
and just mixed it in with the guacamole and then videotaped his wife who loved guacamole just take a really big chunk of that guacamole off a chip and put it in her mouth and start chewing, and she was like, what the hell did you do?
no. Yeah. Yeah. Wasabi will get you every time.
So, but yeah, guacamole, I think that's a solid one that I would eat as well on Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah.
So another one that is very popular and more traditional is basically a chalupa. Did you ever have a chalupa before?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's street food that's usually in poblano, but it looks a bit like a tostada. So basically, what a chalupa is just fried thick tortillas. And what they'll do is they'll top it with some salsa. They'll top it with some shredded meat, some chopped onion. You might find some queso that they put on top of that. Um, and really, if you look at the historical side of that, some people think that chalupa has got their name from baskets, because in Puebla, they basically looked at how Spanish settlers would wash their clothes in the river, and women carried things to the river in wooden big baskets, and they called them chalupas.
Huh.
So think about that. Afterward they would rush home and then they'd throw together a quick dish that looked like the chalupa we know today. So it's kind of interesting to think about historically. These women would have these baskets, and that's how they do everything. And then they're putting that with the food, you
Hmm.
know. But other people historically think that it comes after the Aztecs
Okay.
because the Aztecs had boats. They also called chalupas. So they were used in a couple cities, and Mexico City is now where the Aztecs basically were popular and thriving. So I don't know which way do you think? Do you think it could be because of them washing their clothes, or do you think it was because of the boats? Either way, I think both of them are going to be able to put
Mm-hmm.
all those, put everything in there to be that housing for whatever food you're going to eat.
Yeah. My mind tells me more about the Aztecs, but that's just me.
Okay, why? What do you think? Because of the Aztecs? Just do you think because of the lost people, or what?
Yeah. Didn't you say it was the? Oh my God. Sorry, brain's not working. The basket that the women held all their laundry in and carried all their
Yeah.
stuff in. Didn't you say that word originated from the Spanish people that came over to Mexico?
Yeah, Spanish settlers.
Yeah.
They
So
they called it chalupas, that the big baskets.
right now, if we go way back further, anybody who knows a little bit about history knows the Aztec also had a little issue with that same group of people.
Yeah, people getting a history lesson today.
And so the chances are that, in my mind, the Spanish had probably heard that word in reference to the Aztecs' boats and just putting everything in, and then essentially like smaller chalupa for the basket where you put all your clothes in.
That's not a bad little connection there. I was leaning towards the Aztecs as well, but now that you kind of say that, I really think it was, you're probably right. I mean, the Aztecs probably had all their stuff. Spanish people came over, being like, "Hey, we're gonna knock on your door,"
Yeah.
and then just said, "You know what? We're gonna use this word."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that things that we'll never know completely, right? Imagine if all those texts and everything weren't burned, and imagine what we could know. Maybe it really was chalupa, or maybe it was some other word.
Maybe it was quesadilla. Who knows?
So one of the last ones that's basically traditional too is chiles and nogada. So um, chiles and nogada is said, at least historically, from people that nuns, they were invented by nuns, and it was for um, one of the first emperors after Mexico actually had its independence from Spain. So I guess this guy visited Puebla in 1821. So they wound up creating these things, and he was served these chilies or chiles after signing the Treaty of Cordoba. So this was actually the treaty that gave Mexico its independence from Spain.
Hmm.
So the interesting part and the connection of it too is that the colors of the Mexican flag, which are red, white, and green, um, they're supposed to symbolize the sweet, savory, and the spicy of the picadillo stuffed poblano pepper.
Oh.
So they dip it in eggs and then they fry it, and then they put a walnut sauce with pomegranate seeds, parsley on it.
Hmm.
So apparently, it's one of their most beloved dishes that people eat, especially during Cinco de Mayo. So, in some sense, I feel like that's where maybe someone winds up um, combining the two.
Yeah.
At least, I don't know, maybe some dumb Americans a while back thought this is the reason why. But I could totally see why people think that, oh, it's Mexico's independence for this dish because, hey, we had this when the first emperor decided to say, "Look, we're free. This is
Yeah.
the meal that I ate," um, and then it just kind of stuck.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Like we're going at the times where most everything was passed through verbally. And if you've ever played a game of telephone, it gets five,
Yeah,
six people down the line, the whole story changes.
yeah. Everybody has definitely played that game before,
Mm-hmm.
and so not fun. But uh, you know, so those are three of the dishes that people do. Usually Mexican traditional foods on that.
Right.
So
Do you have a special dish that you like to cook on Cinco de Mayo?
on Cinco de Mayo, not usually. I usually will enjoy whatever food it is. I'm not a big Spanish food eater. I like it, I'll eat it, but I'm not gonna go completely out of the way and make something on even on fifth
Yeah.
of May to say, "Yay, I'm gonna eat this." So, but if I had to, I'd probably stick with a burrito
Yeah.
and have refried beans. I love refried beans, and probably have some, queso, put on top of that with some salsa and maybe some guacamole.
Mm,
So
I like-
probably some Spanish rice. I'd probably put some rice on that too.
okay.
Have rice within the burrito.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that would be mine. And again, I'll eat it. It'll be good. I'll enjoy it, but it's not one of my favorite foods. Now, if we ever talk about Italian food or other things like that, like good home. I mean, we've already talked about some good old home meat, home foods. That is where I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna eat this stuff. This would be my more favorite one.
Right. That's fair.
I mean, I forget. Do you like Mexican food or Spanish food at all?
I do.
Are you gonna be the one that's gonna go out of your way and be like, yeah, I'm gonna eat this today?
The reason why, especially on a day like Cinco de Mayo, it's the same thing that happens with a day like St. Patty's Day. You're going to go out and you're going to have a bunch of people getting a little too crazy who can't handle their sauce. And I am not skilled enough, nor do I have enough time to make things that I would like to make, like, oh my gosh, I forgot the name of them. Tornadoes? No, no. Fuck are they called? Tamales.
Tamales, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, that was
yeah.
funny.
Because that shit takes like 12 hours to make, dude. And I will eat a bunch of tamales. I love tamales.
Yeah, they're good, man.
So that is what I would like to eat on Cinco de Mayo. But generally, I do not have the kind of time it takes to make a bunch of tamales for Cinco de Mayo.
Oh man, those I feel like you buy them by the dozen by some woman that actually does all of them,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
and that you're not going to go out of your way and make them and be like, okay, great, I'm having this for Cinco de Mayo. That's where you're like, hey, I'm going to get a baker's dozen for, $14.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh,
So I will, however, partake in drinking some margaritas or some tequila on that day.
but yeah, that's just common courtesy.
I also um, celebrate that day from when I adopted my dog. So it's kind of a double celebration for that day. If I do happen to, go out and have any tequila or go eat anywhere, usually bring home a snack and be like, "Hey, it's your gotcha day."
Nice.
So,
Yeah, because that was 2 years after the Great Sombrero incident.
geez, man, the years blend together at that point. So I can't remember which year it was
There was a
for the
lot of
Great
alcohol
Sombrero.
in that like 5 year span.
Yeah, there was a lot of Great Sombrero days.
Yeah, yeah. That was some wild times.
So
So
I
since
did.
neither of us really make anything for Cinco de Mayo, I do have a list of things that for people who do celebrate and like to make things on Cinco de Mayo, they could make.
All right. What
To
are
get
some of
in.
those things that people can make?
So the first few are like your super simples. Number one on here is guacamole, and this is from Kraft Heinz website.
Which sounds like a white person, but
It
okay.
it really does, but like I pop top 15 Cinco de Mayo food ideas. So number one is guacamole. Number two is fresh salsa. Number three is a fresh corn and avocado salsa. Number four, you've got shrimp ceviche. Number five is a no fuss chilies relleno skillet, which looks really good. You got cheesy chicken tostadas, corn tortilla red chileques with chicken. I can't pronounce that. Um, Savory beef empanadas, which are always good. Here's a quick carrot chicken mole.
Mole, see?
Yep. slow cooker beef barbacoa, which is good. And then they got some desserts here, like a cream cheese flan, a chocolate tres leches cake, um, and chocolate dip churros.
Yeah, see, we didn't even get into the dessert side of what would be the celebration. I feel like desserts are another part of that. We can talk about churros and, or maybe even next year when we do this, we can say, okay, here's the second annual. What are some freaking desserts that we can eat? Because I definitely can go into some churros for sure.
Yeah.
I'll eat some churros.
Yep. And I'll eat flan. I don't care.
Yeah, flan is good too.
Yep.
So
Once you get past the texture of it, it's really good.
you know what? I feel like that's with some foods anyway, no matter where you're at.
Yeah. Like some people are not gonna like Jello because it's wiggly, you know.
Yeah, you get past that, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Jello is just thickness in delicious form.
So I did a little bit of some research while you were talking too, and I was looking at some other places that celebrate it that may not come close. You know, you can see how the U.S. would celebrate it and how Mexico obviously would celebrate it because I mean it was kind of the two fighting between Mexico and France, and then how that interacts with the U.S. But apparently, some Canadians get real fun. They wind up playing Mexican music and serve some Mexican food and drinks.
Okay.
And that there's a freaking skydiving club out there on Cinco de Mayo in Vancouver that holds a big ass event. Um, around some other parts of the world, the Cayman Islands, apparently they do an air guitar competition on the Cinco de Mayo. And Jamaica, I mean, I'm sure they probably do some weed smoking celebration. It says a celebration. It doesn't say anything about what kind of celebration, but I'm going to have to say it's going to be that. And apparently Australia holds a big annual musical festival where they look at Mexican stuff and go that way.
Well,
So,
nice.
and then other places like Cape Town, South Africa, Nigeria, Paris, and even Japan get in on it too, just to celebrate Latin American culture. So good
dope.
for them.
Well, shit. I don't think I have anything else to add to this topic.
Yeah, I think we'll have to look into it next year and add more into desserts and whatnot. So
I think you're right, bud. Well, you want to sign us off then?
yeah, well, this is Professor Porkloin and my lovely co-host here.
The Meat Viking.
And we are signing off for our Cinco de Mayo special. So go ahead, go out, drink some margaritas, have some tacos, and enjoy the day and celebrate. Remember, not Mexico's Independence Day.
And be safe. Don't try to steal a sombrero like I did.
Yeah, don't get arrested.
Don't get arrested. I didn't get arrested. Later, everyone.